Every day, you give away a piece of yourself just to be accepted. You say yes when you mean no. You laugh when the joke insults you. But what if the real reason you feel powerless? Because you need to be liked. In this video, we dive into Machiavelli's most ruthless idea, that the most dangerous man is the one who no longer needs approval. Because once you kill the need to please, no one can play you. You wake up, and before you've even had your first thought of the day, your mind is already filtering everything through one question. What will they think of me? The way you dress, the words you choose, the way you hold yourself in a room, your mind, like a trained dog, is sniffing for approval, seeking signs of validation. And the problem isn't that you want to be liked. That's human. The problem is you need it. This is the sickness Machiavelli diagnosed centuries ago. Not with sentiment, not with sympathy, but with the scalpel of cold observation. He didn't write for the soft-hearted. He wrote for rulers, for survivors, for those who understood that in a game of power, needing to be liked is the first card they play against you. Because the moment they know you care about how you're perceived, you've already lost control of your image. You'll bend your voice to match their tone. You'll silence your opinion in fear of rejection. You'll accept apologies that are weapons dressed as flowers because you're too afraid to confront. You'll say yes when everything inside you is screaming no, just to avoid conflict, just to keep the peace, just to preserve a fragile illusion of harmony, but harmony built on erasure is not peace, it's silent war. And you're losing. You see, Machiavelli understood something most people never will. He understood that love is beautiful but fragile. It is given conditionally. It is retracted easily. It requires maintenance. One wrong word, one unpopular opinion, one boundary too strong, and suddenly the smiles fade, the compliments turn cold, and you're no longer the hero in their eyes. Because you broke the invisible contract. Make me feel good and I'll like you. The need to please traps you in that contract and forces you to keep signing it over and over again. Every day, in relationships, in work, in friendship circles that punish difference and reward submission. You perform, you overextend, you apologize for existing too loudly, and worse, you start to lie. Not big, obvious lies, but soft lies. The kind that protect your mask. No, I'm not upset. Sure, I can help. I totally agree. But inside, resentment brews. Self-respect shrinks, and deep down, you begin to sense something terrible, that maybe they don't even know who you are. They only know who you pretend to be. And the more you try to please, the more you disappear. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize they love someone who isn't you. They praise a version of you that you built just to avoid rejection. But it's not real. It's not solid. And so your entire sense of self becomes a performance, a role in someone else's play. This is what Machiavelli warned against. He wasn't telling you to be cruel. He was telling you to be real. Real people are unpredictable. Real people are disliked sometimes. Real people stand on their own, even if it means standing alone. Because when your approval comes from within, you can finally start to live without being on a leash. But most people don't want that freedom. They say they do. But freedom has a price. And that price is rejection. That price is being misunderstood. That price is silence, sometimes because when you stop people pleasing, many people walk away. But Machiavelli would ask, were they really with you or just with the version of you that served them? And that's where the truth hits hardest. Because now you see it. The need to please didn't protect you. It weakened you. It turned you into a mirror for other people's desires, instead of a force with desires of your own. It made you manipulatable, predictable, easy to guilt, flatter, bait, and shame. you weren't being kind. You were being conquered. You weren't being agreeable. You were being devoured. In the world of Machiavelli, appearances weren't optional, they were everything. But here's the twist. He never said to be good. He said to appear good. That distinction right there separates the pawns from the kings. Because while most people struggle to live with inner alignment, trying to match who they are with how they're seen, Machiavelli's advice was brutal in its clarity. If you must choose between being good and being seen as good, choose the appearance every time. He didn't say it because he hated morality. He said it because he understood human nature. People don't follow what's true. They follow what looks good, what feels safe, what aligns with their expectations. And in power, perception is more stable than reality. A man can be honest, just, noble, and still be destroyed by a rumor. Another man can be ruthless, selfish, deceptive, and be crowned as a hero, so long as he knows how to look like one. So integrity, in the Machiavellian sense, is not about living by your principles. It's about knowing when to display them and when to hide them. It's a chessboard, not a confessional, and this is where most people fail. They try to show the world their heart. They believe that if they're honest, vulnerable, sincere, people will treat them with fairness. But people don't respond to your honesty. They respond to your image. And your image, whether you like it or not, is a weapon. It's a mask. And it can protect you or betray you, depending on how well you understand it. The man who chases integrity at the cost of strategy is the man who gets blindsided. The man who thinks his goodness is obvious, his intentions transparent, his value self-evident. That man is walking into a lion's den with flowers in his hands. Because the world doesn't reward purity. It rewards power dressed in purity. That's what Machiavelli saw in the courts of Florence, in the Papal States, in every royal chamber drenched in whispers and daggers. Those who survived weren't the ones with the cleanest souls. They were the ones who mastered the theater of virtue. And what a theater it is. Smile when needed. Apologize when strategic. Pretend to be shocked at the very things you secretly plan. Tell them what they want to hear while moving silently toward what you want. Not because you're fake, but because you understand the rules of the game. And the first rule is this: integrity without image is invisible. But image without integrity, that can still rule, of course. This makes people uncomfortable. They want the world to reward authenticity. They want leaders who are transparent. But Machiavelli would ask, when has that ever worked for long? Show me a ruler who said exactly what he thought and remained in power. Show me a reformer who challenged the masses too soon and wasn't crucified for it. Truth, if not timed, is suicidal. Honesty, if not delivered with precision, is self-harm. And in the court of public opinion, even saints are sacrificed. So instead of chasing the impossible dream of being both pure and powerful, Machiavelli teaches us to choose. If your integrity puts you in danger, conceal it. If your image gains you access, sharpen it. If your truth alienates the herd, hold it until the storm passes. Because in the end, power doesn't care about who you are inside. It only cares about what you can project, protect, and preserve. It starts small, a simple favor, a soft request, a moment where someone asks just a little more of you than you offered. And because you don't want to upset them, you say yes. Because you want to be the good one, you give in. Because somewhere deep inside, your identity has fused with your usefulness, your kindness, your role as the agreeable one, you comply. And just like that, they've taken the first chip out of your autonomy, not with force, not with a threat, but with your own desire to please. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. The moment someone sees your hunger to be liked, they also see your leash. They see your pressure points, and the world, especially the political, social, emotional world, will push exactly where you are soft. That's how control works, not always through violence. Sometimes the most effective domination is invisible. It wears a smile, it speaks in polite tones, it looks like love, but it's built on the knowledge that you won't say no, not because you agree, but because you can't bear to be disliked. Your coworkers know it when they offload their tasks on you and you nod, pretending you're okay. Your friends know it when they cross your boundaries and you laugh it off. Your partner knows it when they manipulate your silence as consent, and you stay quiet to avoid conflict. They're not necessarily evil, but they're human, and humans are opportunists. They push where they can. They test your limits, and if they find that your limit is rejection, they will use rejection like a lever, prying things out of you until you've given too much and wonder why you're empty. This is the psychology Machiavelli dissected without apology. He didn't sugarcoat it. He saw the truth. That power isn't just taken, it's offered up quietly by those who fear being left out, unloved, or alone. And when you need to be liked, when you fear disapproval more than disrespect, you begin making decisions that betray your self-respect. You start editing yourself in real time, changing your tone, diluting your thoughts, weakening your position just to maintain harmony. But harmony built on personal sacrifice isn't peace. It's silent manipulation, the terrifying part. They often don't even have to ask. You anticipate what they want before they say it. You offer before they request. You apologize before they accuse. You punish yourself to avoid being punished. That's how deeply the programming runs. You become your own handler, ensuring you stay likable, agreeable, acceptable. You think this makes you strong, but to the eyes of the ruthless, it makes you visible and vulnerable. And once they see it, they don't forget it. They learn exactly what to say to get you back in line. A disappointed look, a well-placed guilt trip, a passive-aggressive jab, a public silence. These are not weapons in the traditional sense. But in the world of power, they are deadly, because they strike not at your body but at your identity, the part of you that needs to be seen as good. That's where the real control lives, not in what they do to you, but in what they make you do to yourself. The pressure to keep the peace becomes your prison. The fear of being seen as selfish becomes your chains. The desire to be liked becomes the lens through which every decision is filtered, and every manipulation slips through unnoticed. Machiavelli warned that those who seek to be loved above all else are the easiest to control, because their morality becomes predictable, their responses become programmable, and power, real power, depends on your ability to be unpredictable, to act outside the emotional traps laid by those who know your weakness. When you crave validation, your strings are no longer in your hands. They're in the hands of those who know how to pull them. There's a moment where everything changes, not outside, inside. A moment where you feel the pull to answer, to explain yourself, to win someone's approval, and for the first time, you don't. You sit in the discomfort, you let them misjudge you, you let the silence linger. You don't correct the false story they're telling about you. You don't offer an apology they're fishing for. You simply let it be. And something strange happens, nothing collapses. The world doesn't end. The approval you once begged for suddenly seems irrelevant, and what rises in its place is power. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote about the psychology of control. The people who rise, not by accident, but with intention, are never the ones begging to be understood. They are not running around trying to prove their goodness, or chasing likes, or softening their edges to fit a crowd. They stand firm, even in misunderstanding, especially in misunderstanding, because their strength does not come from how the world sees them. It comes from the fact that they no longer need the world's validation to move. To kill the need to please is not to become cruel. It's to become clean, clean of dependency, clean of addiction to external signals. You no longer walk into a room scanning for who likes you. You walk in with direction, with gravity. Because when a person no longer needs to be liked, they become impossible to predict. And when you're impossible to predict, you become dangerous to manipulate. The people who play you, who twist your kindness, who guilt you into corners, they rely on patterns. They rely on the fact that you'll always fold when pressure is applied, that you'll always return to the familiar role, the agreeable one, the polite one, the helper. But what happens when that script breaks? What happens when they push and you don't move? When they shame you and you stay still? When they withhold affection and you walk away? What happens is power. Real power, the kind that doesn't raise its voice, that doesn't need to posture. It just is. Machiavelli's greatest lesson wasn't about deception, it was about detachment. If you can detach from your desire to be adored, you become sovereign. You become untouchable, because now your choices are not based on fear. Not fear of being disliked, abandoned, or judged. Your choices are now based on what must be done, not what others are comfortable with. This shift terrifies people because it means letting go of the rewards they've been trained to chase. Praise, attention, approval, applause. All of it begins to lose its flavor. And in its place, you taste something more bitter, but far more lasting. Self-respect. You begin to speak less, but your words land deeper. You no longer feel the urge to explain every decision because you no longer owe anyone an explanation. You're not in the game to be understood. You're in the game to move the pieces quietly, powerfully. This is where the transformation becomes permanent. You stop being reactive. You stop trying to fix how others see you. You begin to control what you do, what you tolerate, what you give your time and energy to. You begin to notice how often people test you, not with direct conflict, but with subtle signals, a pause, a sigh, a disappointed look. And instead of adjusting yourself to soothe them, you let them feel what they feel. You are no longer their emotional servant. This is the edge Machiavelli taught rulers to live on, the edge of restraint, the edge of self-command. When a man no longer dances for approval, the music loses its power over him. He walks at his own rhythm. He speaks when it matters. He withdraws when it doesn't. And those who once controlled him through guilt, through charm, through expectation, suddenly find that their old tricks have no effect. Because something in him has died, the need, the hunger, the soft core of people. Pleasing that once made him easy to manage has been burned away. And what remains is not arrogance, it's clarity, clarity that he owes no one his obedience. That his power is not found in being loved, it is found in being free. They told you that being liked was everything. That if you were kind enough, patient enough, flexible enough, the world would return the favor. That if you just kept proving your worth, eventually you'd be respected. But Machiavelli knew better. He knew the game didn't reward goodness, it rewarded strength. Not the strength to dominate, but the strength to detach. To walk away when being liked means being controlled. To speak the truth when silence is expected. To stand alone when the crowd demands conformity. Because in a world where everyone is performing, the most powerful act is to stop. Stop bending, stop chasing, stop apologizing for being unapologetically yourself. Kill the need to please. and watch how quickly the people who tried to play you lose their script. Watch how their manipulation stumbles, how their power shrinks. Watch how you become the one they can't predict, and therefore the one they can't control. Not everyone will understand you, not everyone will like you, and that's exactly the point. When you no longer fear disapproval, you no longer fear freedom. And that, as Machiavelli would say, is when you become dangerous.